Have you ever seen a giant trip over its own feet? That's what's happening to Boeing right now. For decades, Boeing ruled the skies. Their planes were everywhere, flying millions of people around the world. But something has changed, and fast. Their biggest rival, Airbus, has launched a new plane that's shaking up the entire airline industry, the Airbus A321XLR. This isn't just a new jet, it's a smart, game-changing aircraft that solves real problems for airlines. It flies farther, uses less fuel, and offers more comfort, without the big price tag of wide-body planes. And while Airbus is delivering these planes right now, Boeing's answer is still on the drawing board. It's about how their decisions will shape the way we fly for the next 30 years. For decades, Boeing was the leader in making passenger planes. Their name stood for power, reliability, and innovation, but now they're struggling, especially in a part of the market they used to dominate, medium-range flights. Surprisingly, the company causing Boeing the most trouble isn't a new startup with wild tech. It's Airbus, an old rival, doing something very smart with something very familiar. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel, they're just building a better one. The Airbus A321XLR is now flying passengers. Meanwhile, Boeing's competitor to this plane still hasn't left the drawing board, and that's a big deal. Why? Because airlines are making choices right now that will shape the future of flying for the next 20 or 30 years. Here's what makes this so frustrating for Boeing. They had the upper hand once. Years ago, they made a plane called the 757. It was fast, powerful, and perfect for flights that were too long for small planes but didn't need a big jet. It could take off from shorter runways, climb fast, and cross the Atlantic Ocean with ease. Airlines loved it, pilots loved it, passengers liked flying on it. But in 2004, Boeing stopped making the 757, and they didn't offer a replacement. They just gave up the space. At the time, Boeing believed big international airports and giant planes like the 777 were the future. They thought most people would be flying through large hubs like JFK or Heathrow. They didn't realize that travelers were starting to prefer direct flights between smaller cities, like going straight from Boston to Barcelona without stopping in New York or Paris. That change in thinking, what we call point-to-point flying, was exactly what the 757 was good at. And by the time Boeing noticed the trend, Airbus had already taken their place at the front of the line. Airbus was watching carefully. They saw what Boeing didn't. The middle market was wide open. In 2019, Airbus introduced the A321XLR. It's a long-range version of their popular A321 family, and it's not just another new plane. It's a direct answer to the gap Boeing left behind. A smart, timely answer. The A321XLR can fly about 4,700 nautical miles. That means it can go from cities like Seattle to London or Boston to Madrid. In the past, you needed a big wide-body jet for those flights. Now, airlines can use a smaller, more efficient single-aisle plane and save a ton of money doing it. So how did Airbus pull this off? They designed a new fuel tank that fits neatly into the rear center of the plane. This tank holds nearly 13,000 liters of fuel. The total fuel capacity now goes beyond 30,000 liters without losing space for cargo. That's important because airlines often carry packages and luggage for extra income. It's not just about how far it flies. The A321XLR is also incredibly fuel efficient. Compared to older planes, it uses about 30% less fuel per seat. That's a massive cost saving, especially since fuel is one of the biggest expenses for any airline. And let's talk about comfort. The A321XLR might be a narrow-body plane, but it feels much more comfortable than most in its class. Some seat layouts allow for 18-inch wide seats, wider than what Boeing's 737 MAX 10 offers. The cabin also has better air quality, modern lighting, and a quieter ride. Some passengers say it feels like flying in a much larger plane. Airlines jumped on it. Big names like American Airlines, United, JetBlue, Qantas, and Iberia all placed major orders. By mid-2024, Airbus had already locked in over 500 confirmed orders. The A321XLR had its first flight in 2023, received EASA certification in mid-2024, and deliveries began in October 24. So this isn't just hype. This isn't a prototype. The A321XLR is already flying people across oceans today. For airlines, it means more direct routes, lower operating costs, and happier passengers. For travelers, it could mean skipping busy airports and long layovers and flying straight to your destination, even from smaller cities. Let's rewind a little and go back to Boeing. How did a company that once ruled the skies fall behind in such an important market? It all starts with a big mistake, and something called the sunk cost fallacy. This is when a company sticks to a plan just because they already spent a lot of time and money on it, even if the plan clearly isn't working anymore. Boeing fell right into this trap. Back in the early 2000s, Boeing believed the future of flying was all about big planes and big airports. Their idea was that passengers would fly into major hubs like New York, London, or Frankfurt, then connect to smaller cities. So they focused on wide-body planes like the 777 and later the 787 Dreamliner. But the world was already changing. More passengers wanted direct flights from one smaller city to another, skipping the layovers. This is where Boeing had a golden opportunity, because they already had the perfect aircraft, the 757. It was a fantastic plane, Pilots loved how it handled. Airlines loved how it could fly long distances, take off from short runways, and land at smaller airports. And passengers enjoyed flying on it because of its speed and power. It could easily fly routes across the Atlantic, like Boston to Dublin, without needing a bigger plane. But in 2004, Boeing made a shocking decision. They stopped making the 757. Even worse, they didn't build a new plane to replace it. Why? Because they thought those kinds of routes weren't the future. They doubled down on their hub-based vision. Unfortunately for Boeing, that vision didn't match how the industry was evolving. As a result, airlines started looking for a new solution, something that could do what the 757 did, but more efficiently. That's when Airbus stepped in with a plan. And Boeing, they tried something else. Rather than design a brand new jet to fill the 757's role, Boeing tried to stretch the old 737 platform into something bigger. Their solution was the 737 MAX 10. Now, the MAX 10 has some nice upgrades, new engines, more seats, and special winglets to help with fuel savings, but it's still based on a design from the 1960s. There's only so much you can do with such an old airframe. Worse yet, the MAX 10 has a range of about 3,300 nautical miles. That might sound impressive, until you realize the Airbus A321XLR flies roughly 1,400 miles farther. That means the MAX 10 simply can't do transatlantic flights the way the A321XLR can. It's like trying to win a marathon with a pair of dress shoes. It's just the wrong tool for the job. To make matters worse, Boeing has also faced serious safety and certification problems with the MAX line. After 2 tragic crashes involving the 737 MAX 8, regulators around the world started watching Boeing more closely. Because of this, the MAX 10 certification has been delayed again and again. Meanwhile, Airbus has already certified the A321XLR and deliveries have started. Airlines are already flying it and loving it. Boeing, once the leader, is now playing catch up, and the delay is costing them. So the question is, what is Boeing going to do now? There's been talk for years about a new aircraft called the 797, also known as the New Mid-Sized Airplane, NMA. This plane would be built from scratch, not just a stretched version of an older jet. The idea is that it would sit right between the 737 and the 787. According to early plans, the 797 would come in 2 versions, one focused on longer range, around 5,500 nautical miles, another focused on carrying more passengers, up to 270 people. If that happens, the 797 could be exactly what Boeing needs to take back the middle of the market. It would be newer, more fuel efficient, and could finally replace the hole left by the 757. Sounds great, right? Well, here's the catch. The 797 doesn't exist yet. Designing and building a brand new airplane from the ground up is a huge job. It can cost $15 to $20 billion and take 7 to 10 years to go from drawing board to first flight. And right now, Boeing is facing financial pressure, delays, and growing public scrutiny. So instead of jumping in, Boeing has been hesitating, waiting for the perfect moment, debating the cost, and trying to avoid more risk. Meanwhile, Airbus hasn't waited. They've taken a slower, more strategic path by improving what already worked. That's why the A321XLR is flying today, and the 797 is still just a concept. Why is Boeing so cautious? Part of the answer goes back to the 1997 merger with McDonnell Douglas. On paper, Boeing bought McDonnell Douglas, but in reality, many insiders say it was McDonnell Douglas's corporate mindset that took over. Boeing used to be led by engineers, people who dreamed big and built planes like the 747, 777, and the original 757. After the merger, business executives gained more power, and the focus shifted to profit margins and shareholder returns. This change in culture made Boeing less willing to take big risks. Rather than spending billions on something new, they chose to tweak what already existed, like stretching the 737. That mindset might save money in the short term, but it's hurting them in the long term. Now, Boeing is stuck in a tough spot. The 737 MAX 10 is not enough to match the A321XLR. The 797 could be, but it's still years away. And Airbus keeps gaining ground, signing deals, and flying their aircraft. The window for Boeing to act is getting smaller. Airlines are making decisions today that will shape their fleets for the next 20 to 30 years. If Boeing doesn't move fast and boldly, the A321XLR could dominate this market for decades to come. Boeing still has the engineering talent, they still have the legacy, but the question remains, do they have the courage to build something new before it's too late? While Boeing spent years trying to upgrade its older aircraft, Airbus quietly took a smarter path. Instead of rushing to invent a completely new plane, they took a careful look at what airlines really wanted, and what they saw was clear: a growing need for a plane that could fly long distances, use less fuel, carry a smaller number of passengers efficiently, and still make money on less crowded routes. This need created a gap in the market. Boeing had once filled this space with the 757, but they stopped making it in 2004, and strangely, they never made a proper replacement. Airbus saw this opening and moved quickly to fill it. It's not a flashy concept, It's not a completely new invention, but that's exactly why it worked so well. The A321XLR is built off the proven A321neo platform, but upgraded in just the right ways. It's like taking something good and making it great. The biggest change is its range. The A321XLR can fly up to 4,700 nautical miles. That means it can fly from Boston to Madrid, New York to Rome, or Miami to London without needing to stop or refuel. That's a big deal. Traditionally, flights like these need large, expensive wide-body planes, but now airlines can serve them with a much cheaper single-aisle aircraft. How did Airbus make this possible? By adding a smartly placed rear center fuel tank. It holds about 13,000 liters, pushing the total fuel capacity to more than 30,000 liters. And here's the clever part. They added this tank without sacrificing cargo space. That means airlines can still carry luggage, mail, and extra freight below the seats, which helps boost profits on every flight. But it's not just about flying far. The A321XLR is also highly fuel efficient. It uses around 30% less fuel per seat compared to older planes like the Boeing 757. For airlines, that's a huge win, since fuel is often the largest cost in running a flight. The plane's efficiency is powered by modern engines, either the CFM LEAP 1A or Pratt & Whitney PW1100G-JM. These engines are not only fuel savers, they're also quieter, helping airlines meet strict airport noise rules. Now let's talk comfort, because flying on a narrow-body jet for a long flight doesn't sound fun, right? Well, Airbus tackled that too. The A321XLR can be fitted with seats up to 18 inches wide, sometimes even wider than what Boeing offers on the 737 MAX. Cabin noise is lower, lighting is softer, and the air feels fresher thanks to modern airflow systems. Some flyers even say it feels more like a wide-body plane than a single-aisle one. Airlines noticed everything we've just talked about. As soon as Airbus announced the XLR in 2019, the orders started coming in. American Airlines, United, JetBlue, Qantas, and Iberia were quick to buy. By mid-2024, Airbus had secured over 500 firm orders, and better yet, deliveries started in 2024. So this isn't a future plane, it's already here and flying. What Airbus did with the A321XLR wasn't magic, it was just smart, focused design at the right moment. While Boeing was still debating what to do, Airbus built a jet that checked every box. Long range, fuel savings, passenger comfort, and operational flexibility. This wasn't just a new airplane. The A321XLR is a turning point in how the world thinks about flying. This whole story isn't just about airplane models or corporate rivalries. It's about you, the passenger. Let's say Airbus keeps winning with the A321XLR. What does that mean for everyday flyers? It means you might soon have more direct flight options from smaller cities. Instead of flying from Pittsburgh to Chicago to London, you might fly direct Pittsburgh to London, saving hours of time and avoiding airport stress. Cities that never had long-distance international service could suddenly get it. That means less time in layovers, fewer missed connections, and even cheaper fares as airlines run more efficient flights. Now, what if Boeing finally builds the 797, the aircraft people are hoping will compete with the A321XLR? That could be a good thing too. The 797 is expected to have more space, wider cabins, and even newer systems that could reduce jet lag and improve overall comfort. It could sit perfectly between smaller narrow-body planes and the large 787 Dreamliner. But it's not just about passengers. There's another fight happening in cargo. Boeing has long ruled the skies when it comes to freight. Their 757 and 767 freighters are trusted by FedEx, UPS, and Amazon. But Airbus is coming after that market too, with the A321P2F. This is a converted version of the A321, made for shipping cargo. It's cheaper to operate, fits into tight airports, and uses less fuel. As e-commerce continues to explode, this freighter segment is becoming even more valuable. Could Airbus take over cargo the way they've taken over medium-haul flying? It's very possible. In the long run, both Airbus and Boeing could end up sharing the middle of the market. The A321XLR might serve thinner long-distance routes. A future 797 might cover higher demand medium-range ones. Airlines would have options, and that's great news for travelers. Every month that goes by without a real Boeing competitor makes it harder for them to catch up. Airlines are placing orders today for planes they'll use for the next 20 to 30 years. If Boeing waits too long, even a better plane might not be enough to win them back. The A321XLR is already flying, already proving itself. So the question isn't just can Boeing build a better plane, it's can they do it fast enough? Because the future of flight is already changing, and Airbus is writing the next chapter, one direct flight at a time. So where do we go from here? Airbus has delivered a game-changing aircraft with the A321XLR. It's flying today, it's saving airlines money and making passengers happy. Boeing, for now, is behind. Their best response, the 797, remains an idea, but this is Boeing we were talking about. They built the 747, the 777, and the 787. They've led the industry before. They could do it again. The question is, will they? Because the next 5 years won't just shape Boeing or Airbus, they'll shape how the whole world flies. And this time, we're all watching from our window seats.